A zoning amendment request has refueled speculation that Costco could be on its way. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. There have been rumors and speculation for over 25 years about whether or not a Costco retail warehouse is coming to Thunder Bay. And we may have the clearest sign yet that the big box retailer is actually ready to set up shop here. A public notice was recently posted along Gulf Links Road showing plans for a large retail space in Gaspar. Acting Senior Planner Shannon LaBelle says the applicant has not told the city who the tenant will be.
So we recently received an application for a large format or a large scale retail warehouse, and so with an associated gas bar. So some revisions are being proposed to the existing regulations for the business zone that the property is currently zoned under. But the city is very excited as the proposal strongly aligns with the policies in our official plan.
LaBelle says the retail warehouse would be just over 15,000 square meters in size. That's about 10% larger than the Real Canadian Superstore. This image shows the proposed building on the left next to plans for a Costco outlet that was recently built in Oregon. And the similarities are very evident. The applicant is seeking zoning amendments for the size of the building, the required landscaping, the driveway size, and the gas bar. The public has until March 20th to ask questions or provide feedback. But whether or not it's a Costco remains a mystery.
And you know what? I am not sure when the public will figure that out or when that information will be provided. The public will probably figure out as soon as staff do as well. Yeah.
And I understand there will be a public meeting at some point. Any guesses when that might happen?
We are hoping to schedule the public meeting for April. However, that does depend on the comments you receive and how things play out once comments are received and the timelines from there on.
LaBelle adds the land would not need to be rezoned as a retail warehouse is a permitted use for the property currently zoned as industrial. The U.S. president has reversed course again on tariffs, now delaying nearly all of the levies until April. But Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he won't walk back retaliatory measures, including his plan to add a 25% tax on the electricity this province sends to the U.S. CTV's Mike Walker has the details.
The only deal is drop the tariffs unconditionally.
Tough talk from Ontario Premier Doug Ford, with the province now set to implement a 25% surcharge on electricity shipped to 3 U.S. states starting Monday.
There's one person to be blamed for that, and that's President Trump. He's created an absolute mess. He's created chaos right now around North America and actually around the world.
It will affect Minnesota, New York, and Michigan, where Ontario ships electricity to 1.5 million Americans. Even with the Trump administration now delaying tariffs on Canadian goods under the current trade agreement until April, Ford says the electricity surcharge will go ahead.
He did this before. Remember, he said he'd do it 1 month, 3 days later, a week later, he puts the tariffs on. So as I always say, you know, you touch a stove once and you get burnt. You don't touch that stove again.
It's a message Ford has been sending to Americans, speaking on multiple U.S. networks today.
Let's sit down and renegotiate the USMCA deal that he created.
In between meetings with cabinet and representatives from affected industries, including the auto sector, which the president has given a 1-month exemption.
There's a team candidate approach. We don't need any special treatment. We know that if you put the 25% tariffs, he's going to shut down the industry within a week.
The Premier has called on municipalities to follow the province on barring U.S. companies from government procurement. Toronto's mayor announcing city contracts for $353,000 or less will be exclusive for Canadian companies.
There are many, many great options to choose from, and the City of Toronto is doing our part to award contracts to local firms.
Trade agreements require all companies outside Canada to bid on projects above that dollar value. Contracts with American companies account for 10% of the city's $60 billion capital budget. But Olivia Chow is also looking to ban U.S. companies from future contracts and will seek support from City Council.
We are strong in AI and tech. We are creative, we have the experience, we're highly educated, so we can deal with our own contracts. We don't have to go to American companies.
The mayor acknowledges it may cost the city more.
We haven't had the financial analysis at this point yet, but I think it's important that we stay strong in our principle and not shop.
That was CTV's Mike Walker reporting. Construction has officially begun on a care home in Grassy Narrows First Nation, specifically to treat those suffering from the effects of mercury poisoning, which has been a problem in the community for decades. The federal government is investing $82 million for capital costs and more to support operations down the road. Jessica Clement explains.
After years of lobbying and meeting with the federal government, construction has finally started on a specialized care facility in Grassy Narrows for mercury poisoning victims. Indigenous Services Minister Patty Haidu joined Chief Sherry Ackaby and community members for Wednesday's groundbreaking ceremony.
It was a celebration of a big achievement, but it was also a very poignant moment because obviously the people that will be living in the care home are so deeply affected, and the impact of industrial mercury poisoning has had generational impact on the community.
Residents have suffered the effects of mercury poisoning since the former owners of the Dryden Mill dumped toxic effluent into the English Wabigoon River system in the 60s. Chief Ackaby wasn't available for comment, but in a release said she's glad her people finally have access to dignified care. Once completed, the Mercury Care Home will offer primary and long-term care services, including holistic care, treatment, and rehabilitation.
Grassy Narrows has worked with a number of experts in the area of mercury treatment and really developed a very sophisticated understanding of what they needed to be able to do this well.
The federal government invested $82 million for the 6,500 square foot facility, and through a 30-year agreement, has also committed $68.9 million for ongoing operational support.
What folks were really worried about is setting up a treatment facility as sophisticated as this one, as complex as this one, admitting patients who will need that care in many cases, if not most cases, for a lifetime. And then having a situation where the money runs out. We felt it was really important that Grassy Narrows had that confidence that they would be able to continue to operate over the next decade.
Construction of the Mercury Care Home is expected to be finished by 2027. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
4 people in Bearskin Lake First Nation have been arrested on drug trafficking and firearm offenses. Anishinaabe Police, with assistance from OPP and the Lac Seul Police K-9 Unit, executed 2 search warrants in the remote community Tuesday morning. The searches uncovered 8 firearms, brass knuckles, a quantity of suspected cocaine, more than $9,500 in cash, and items used for drug trafficking. The 4 suspects are all from Bearskin Lake. A 54-year-old man and a 32-year-old woman are facing charges of possession of cocaine for trafficking and numerous firearms offenses. A 44-year-old man and a 40-year-old woman are charged with unauthorized possession and careless storage of a firearm. A longtime local hockey volunteer has been charged by Thunder Bay Police with fraud over $5,000. The 69-year-old woman's name is not being disclosed until she makes her first court appearance. The police force's Economic Crime Unit began the probe in 2023 after officials with a local youth hockey organization informed police it may have been defrauded. The investigation found multiple financial transactions where funds were diverted from the organization's account. The accused is expected to appear in court on March 26th. The Thunder Bay District Municipal League kicked off the group's annual general meeting today. One of the hot topics was the ever-growing cost of policing by the OPP. The meeting at the Prince Arthur Hotel also gives area municipal leaders the chance to connect and catch up on the league's latest work. Justin Hardy has the story.
The first day of the AGM got off to a strong start with updates on advocacy work being done by both the League and NOMA. From there, discussions and presentations dove into key issues like municipal investing, tackling the stigma around naloxone, and the MAT tax. Community representatives also had plenty of time to connect, ask questions, and share ideas after the presentations. Municipal League President and Marathon Mayor Rick Dumas says one of the biggest priorities of the meeting is shaping the League's strategic plan for 2024 to 2027.
We asked all the mayors and councils that are attending this event to make sure that they bring their information. As you've seen from around the room, there's a bunch of wall tags around the room talk about each one of those things in the strategic plan. We're asking everybody to go around and read those things because not everybody sits on the board, right? The 17 municipalities are represented, but not every municipal council member sits on the board. So we want to make sure they have an opportunity to go and read all those things and look at them and say, okay, I can identify this and I can identify that, and here I can maybe help a little bit and put a little bit more to it.
All 17 member communities had representatives at the meeting, and everyone had the chance to engage in discussions. NOMA President Wendy Laundrie pointed out a major challenge many communities in the region are dealing with, the steep cost of policing services from the Ontario Provincial Police. She explained that these bills are putting a real strain on municipal budgets, making it tough for local governments to keep up.
The OPP costs continue to rise astronomically. They're just not sustainable for our small communities. And as I mentioned, the town of Kenora, for example, almost a $9 million OPP bill. Looking at those are taxpayers' dollars. We only have one way of generating revenue, and that's through taxes. And the property taxpayers are paying for those costs. When you get a $9 million OPP bill for a small town, that's not sustainable.
The meeting continues on Friday with presentations and discussions on subjects like workforce retention and natural asset management. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
NOMA President Wendy Landry has announced she won't seek re-election. That announcement came during the opening of the Thunder Bay District Municipal League AGM. Landry has been president of the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association since 2017. Before that, she was vice president for 2 years. She also held the role of president for the District Municipal League. Landry notes she'll keep advocating for the region and plans to stay involved with NOMA as a past president.
I have a very strong desire to advocacy, and I've worked really hard. I am the longest serving president of NOMA, and I work full time at Confederation College. I sit on some boards, and I just feel that it's time for someone else to take that lead.
She's been the president of NOMA since 2017. A huge advocate of Northern Ontario, Northwestern Ontario specifically. Great job, great relations, as you heard from Mayor Landry, president of NOMA. She has a great relationship with the Ontario government, has the opportunity to text ministers, has a direct call number for those ministers.
The new president will be elected during the NOMA AGM on April 23rd. Officials with Tourism Thunder Bay have released their new 2025 Thunder Bay Experience Guide. This year's guide promotes our city as an inclusive travel destination, welcoming leisure, corporate, and sport visitors from around the world. City officials and members of the public gathered to the CoLab Gallery at Goods & Co. as tourism manager Paul Pepe unveiled the guide. The cover art highlights our region's natural beauty, while the inside gives residents and potential visitors a look at the must-see attractions, local businesses, and cultural highlights that make Thunder Bay unique. Pepe says these guides are an important draw for potential tourists.
Well, it's a great way symbolically to kind of kick off our spring and summer tourism season ahead. And, just to get our industry together, get our advertising partners together, and, it's a chance to do a bit of networking, reconnect with one another, and celebrate all the good that's in our tourism industry. And, the magazine's always a great way to do it. Every year we do a very unique cover. Last couple of years, we've been working with local artists to develop these artistic covers, visually appealing, visually striking.
It has at least two things. One, it will show all visitors, particularly those south of the border, that we are still neighbors and welcoming tourists. The second thing, for anybody who comes here, this guide is so thorough. It's really all you need. I keep it on my desk all year round because if anybody has a question about anything, and the third thing really is it shows our support for the entire Northwest. Our region is strong.
The Experience Guide is available online at visitor centers and all local hotels. Thunder Bay Transit passengers can now use a reloadable smart card to pay for the bus. For now, the cards, called Lift Passes, are being offered for free, so customers can try them out before the system officially launches later this month. Passengers will be able to load a day pass, a 10-day ride pass, or a monthly pass onto the card. Starting on May 1st, there will be a $5 purchasing fee, so riders are encouraged to get their card early before that kicks in. Transit Customer Service Supervisor Laura Daniels says physical tickets are still available as well, but they do hope to eliminate those tickets in the future.
So it's part of the city's digital strategy to continually bring more services online to consumers. It gives customers another option for convenient, accessible purchasing.
Lift passes are available at Transit headquarters on Fort William Road, and additional locations will be announced in the coming weeks. Those who purchase a reduced fare card, like students and seniors, will need to show proof of ID. Well, Fiona, I mean, transit-wise, it wasn't too bad of a commute today, at least no snow.
No snow. The sun was sort of out. The winds, though, they were back. They were definitely back. You could hear them whistling outside the station. Temperature-wise, though, we were pretty seasonal. We had a low of -14, although wind chills did feel like -23 in the overnight hours. But we warmed up to -1, which is bang on for this time of year. Wind chills of -7 under mostly cloudy skies, but it was those winds from the west-northwest, times as low as 17, but gusting up to 50, 51 this afternoon. That's pretty blustery out there. That challenges the hairspray, that's for sure. Now, if we take a look at what's going on across the region at this hour, Fort Francis at a really seasonal 3 Celsius under loads of sunshine, although wind chills do feel closer to about -11. It's up into Red Lake that things are definitely cooler, and into Pickle Lake, obviously, at -10 for both of them. They've had lots of sunshine today. The winds and the temperatures just got really bad midday, and the lows were hit around that time. They dropped to about -22 wind chill at this hour, with temperatures of -10. The wind chill is closer to about -18. Everywhere else, they're heading towards more seasonal values. We've got -6 in Uppsala, Armstrong, Greenstone. Had loads of sunshine. The snow just started in the last half an hour. Otherwise, it was a clear day. So things are looking a little bit snowy. I think it's just a pop-up bit of flurries at this hour, and wind chills around -12 throughout this region. As we head along the eastern shores, we're pretty consistent, -3 through Marathon, Wawa, Sault Ste. Marie, although the Sault has been dealing with blowing snow throughout most of the day. It's just tapered off in the last couple of hours, but the winds are still gusting up to 53 kilometers per hour, and that's creating wind chill conditions of -10. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to see a low of -12 tonight. Again, very seasonal, although wind chills will make it feel a little cooler at -17. There's about a 40% chance of a flurry or two, but the winds, although they start at 50 will diminish this evening, and they'll get down to much more calmer level. We are actually looking at a very warm weekend, but first we've got to get through the next 24 hours. And as I said earlier this week, there's a lot of ups and downs in the forecast and the temperatures, and it's a bit of a down heading into Friday night, and I'll have more on that later on in the news hour.
Well, thank you, Fiona. And it's been a story of ups and downs when it comes to the tariffs and trade war with the U.S. and Canada. As we heard earlier, Premier Doug Ford doesn't plan to pull back on any retaliatory measures, but the U.S. has put a hold for about a month, or at least they're saying so, on their tariff plans. We'll hear the federal plans from Canada after the break.